Good evening. Hello, everybody. Buck 13 is consing me a high. Hello, good evening. Let's get music set up, which I probably need to fix a bit. There we go. Alrighty. That should be. Wait, did I have it on random? That should not be the case. Don't shuffle. Okay. What was yesterday? I forget. Yesterday was more world loading stuff, I believe. And today I did quite a bit of work on that as well. So, yeah, I did quite a bit, but still not quite done, or in the very least, doesn't launch quite yet. So let's get back to testing that stuff. So again, as a quick reminder, what I'm working on right now is related to tracking all the files and things for the entirety of the game world, so to speak. And so what I've done is I factored pretty much everything, all the resources, or not all of them, but most of them, out of the data directory and put them into a world directory, which now contains all this kind of stuff. So that contains, on one hand, the assets for the world, but also the actual regions, which define the tiles and everything, and then additional metadata and source files that make up sort of the game content, so to speak. So I have gone full into the secondary approach that I discussed last time, but I've hit a couple of problems on that road already. Most notably, a lot of optimizations can't be done if it's done through sort of this agnostic packet interface. The reason being that things like compile file require, well, the file, so they can't work with in-memory representations, meaning that you need to extract the packet when loading a world onto disk in order to work with that kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a problem. Yeah. It's not a problem right now. Right now I'm just doing CL load, which accepts a stream, so that's good enough. But at some point I would like to worry about compiling things down to increase efficiency. Perhaps I can actually compile to a FASL and load that directly. I'm not too sure about that. So I would have to experiment with that. I'm actually not sure if the standard guarantees loading FASL files from a stream is possible. I don't know. Another problem is that currently Trial cannot load resources like textures or sound files from anything but a file, meaning that that part 2 can't deal with a single file delivery. So if you have a zip file that has the entire world in it, it can't extract textures and sounds and stuff like that out of the zip file directly without going through the disk first. And so I can rectify that part. I'm pretty sure, at least in a large part, I can rectify that by taking the packet protocol that's in Leaf right now and putting it into Trial and making the entire resource asset system make use of that instead of directly dealing with files. And I think I'm going to do that, but not right now. It's not that important to me. It's just a cool thing that could be done. So I'm keeping it in the back of my mind, but yeah. Another thing is that we could also, the reason why I decided to go for dumping the graph representation of the storyline onto file rather than the compile things is because once you compile a source form, you don't have access to the original source anymore, and you can't dump compiled functions. But what I could do instead of this is to write out all the conditions and invariants of the tasks to a file, a source file, and use a different function for each of these invariants and conditions with a randomly generated name, and then I can call compile file on that and just reference the original functions and the rest of the data. So that way I could again like get a pre-compilation step done to avoid having to do more at runtime or at load time, as it will. So if load times ever become a problem, this is a thing that I could do to speed it up. But again, right now it's not that important, so I just want to get things to work, and I'm not doing things. I'm just, whenever I notice something like that, I write it into a to-do note, so that whenever I have time, or whenever it becomes important, I remember what to do. Otherwise, you might notice I sparingly use comments, because I feel like things should be either written in a way that's self-explanatory or written as part of a specification or documentation, or they should be, comments are either obvious or fallacious, meaning they can mislead pretty easily, so it's kind of tough to know when a comment is appropriate. Okay, so loading works. That's nice. It doesn't load the region properly though, because there's no player object, which is weird. Oh, actually, I know why that is. So, it actually loads the world correctly, but there's currently no initial state. And so, last time I also discussed this, the initial state is basically a save state that should set up the initial settings of the world when you start a new game. The problem is, which problem I noticed is that, like, how does this distinguish whether we're actually loading the world as part of a save restore or as part of a new game? And I'm not sure if this initial state should just actually, no, it can't work like that either, because the save state, yeah, this is something I haven't thought about really. So as part of the life cycle of the game, you might have entities in certain parts of the world that get either added or removed. So for instance, you might have some kind of NPC that joins the town or leaves the town or dies, or you might have some kind of alteration in the terrain, or not just the terrain, the game world. And the question is, how do you persist this information? Now, the quests as they stand right now, or the dialogue, or whatever, can cause arbitrary transformations. So it can make pretty much anything it wants happen in the game world, which makes it very difficult to sort of get a delta to know which things were changed from a starting state, a clean slate of the world, to actually save into a save state. So save states are not quite as trivial. You might first think, okay, well, all I need to do is look at the currently existing instances and save their properties, but that doesn't cover the case of deleting or adding new instances into the game world, because when you try to restore that save, those entities either won't have their state restored or they won't exist at all. So there needs to be some kind of other mechanism to ensure that the save state can replay all of these entities or changes as well. And I'm not quite sure yet how to do that. That's something that I need to think about. One of the one of the more obvious choices would be to say, okay, the save state saves all of the quests and tasks you've completed, so the status of all the quests and tasks, and when it's loaded, it simply replays all the changes that happened. So it would have to replay all the dialogues and things like that, simulate them from happening, but that doesn't quite work either, because consider this consider a dialogue like this. You have some kind of Fui, and he says, hey, or what do you want? And then you get a choice between, let's say, a car or, I don't know, a bird. And if you choose a car, it creates a new car for you, or a new bird for you. So once this dialogue choice has been made, the system doesn't remember that you made this choice. It simply sees the effects of it, meaning that the save state has no way of replaying what you did in this dialogue, meaning that it can't actually just replay all the dialogue that's happened to get the side effects back that might have happened as part of the dialogue, which again makes things a lot more difficult. So how do we deal with this? There needs to be some way of computing a delta. I'm pretty sure that replaying things from an initial state is not going to be feasible. We need to have some way of computing. Well, we first need to restrict what the dialogue and the quest system is allowed to change, and I think I can restrict this to any kind of property that is persisted by the save states, plus introducing or removing any kind of entity, which means the problem is then reduced to computing the delta of which entities were removed or added from an initial state. On the other hand, you could do something... You could do something like the region save format, where you just save everything. So you save both which entities and all of their data, but then that will be easy, but it also seems pretty bad, because you're duplicating a lot of information that isn't strictly necessary. And then you wouldn't be loading a region in, you will be loading a save state in, which has all of the information of the region, which might be a lot, so I don't like that. It's funny because Celeste had almost none of these problems to worry about. And a lot of other games don't either. The state they need to save in a save state can be very simple. Like in Celeste, all you needed to save were the IDs of the strawberries you've collected, and which like how many times you've died on each stage, and which stage you were on, and which chunk you were in, and the position, and that's about it. So, yeah. But here I need to actually track things because we have a much more complex system in place. It can alter the game world in a much more significant way. Save states is a thing that I've thought about a lot on previous occasions as well, because it seems like something you should be able to do generically, but the more you think about it, the more it seems like there needs to be a tailored version of some form. Or in the very least, there needs to be some kind of general enough framework that allows the game developers themselves to take care of the details. Alright, so the problem is reduced to computing the delta. Doing so requires knowing what the initial state is, though. So the initial state here would not be a safe state at all, it would be something else. Where would it be? Tough. It's also tough because the... Buck13 is saying, ironic, I'm currently trying to solve the exact same problem for my little text game engine. I see.
Didn't Rimwell do the whole event-by-event save stating?
Buck13, that's not ironic, that's just a coincidence. Anyway, Rimworld, no, you're talking about the multiplayer mod, which kind of did the replay thing, which in that case that kind of makes sense because the events is the most general kind of thing it has, and it needs to deal with a lot of stuff it doesn't know about due to mods. This is not the case here at all. Because we're not working at a level on top of everything, we're working on a level below everything. We can just force any kind of constraint we want. So this is not the same deal. And obviously the save state, well, event log kind of thing that the multiplayer mod did was extremely slow, and yeah, I'd rather not do that. As much as I don't care for performance, I do care about complexity and performance in an architectural sense, so I want to avoid solutions that are just overblown. I mean, you could, of course, save all the events that go through the system and do it that way, but again, that's just bad. That is something that I want to do for an entirely different system, which is going to be for replays. Replays are going to be about just recording every event as it happens, and then replaying that either in real time or sped up. So for a replay system, it's great, but save states, not so much. It's too coarse. Okay. Again, I need to think about it. So another problem I noticed before chat was that in the editor, when you're editing things and you enter things into the region, like I don't know, a falling block or some kind of lift or some kind of NPC, and you place them into the region and you save the region, then that is already going to be in the initial state. But it's much harder to parse that information out. I guess... Does the region save the player? Yes, it does. So I think the only initial state that we require at all for the world itself is which region that we start out in. And I think that should contain all of the information necessary to start out. With the exception maybe being like which quests should be activated automatically. So... yes, and then for actually save stating, we need to reload the region as it exists on disk and do a comparison of entities, so a diff, and then use that to save which entities were introduced and which were removed. And then on all existing entities we need to save the properties we need for the save state. I think that should work.
So, how do you store the initial state?
The initial state is stored in the region itself already. When you save something with the editor, it writes all the entities in the region into the region's save file, and that contains the positioning and everything. So the region itself already has that initial state. And I don't think anything is really necessary. Like, there's no information outside of the region for the world, except for which quests need to be started at the beginning, if any, and which region to actually load for the first time. And then from there, I guess if you're restoring a save state, it has to switch out the region again, which is not great because you're loading 2 regions, one of which you don't need. But I can worry about that later. But I think this plan should work fine. So let me get in here and change the spec. I like me some specs, as you might have noticed. Alright, so this should no longer be a path name to an initial state. It should simply be an initial state object, which has a region, which is a string name, or actually that can be a path name. It's fine, and then yeah. Quests, which are named by symbols. Good. I think that's everything. Okay, so... actually, we can... this is... you know... you can actually, if you didn't know about this, you can destructure recursively in a destructuring bind, and also in ordinary lambda lists, I believe. Or, no, I'm not sure if ordinary, but you can do it in destructuring lambda lists, so let me remember the syntax for that. So that's, I think... I don't recommend doing this, because it's just gross. So I think the syntax is this. I think this is the proper way of doing that.
Have you tried dynamic loading? A region will only be loaded if it's needed, and the loader itself is a factory method which either loads the region from a file or creates a new region with the initial state.
Oh, you mean lazy loading, or what? I'm not sure what... I understand the first part, but I'm not sure I understand what the purpose is of either loading the region from file or create a new region with the initial state. I don't really understand what that has to do with... The problem here is kind of that we... the game becomes the command, or gets the command to load the world. So We say load this world. And so it does that, and as part of loading the world, it needs to set up an initial region. And if we do that, then the problem becomes that if we want to, after that, restore a save state, because we're actually loading a game, then we need to immediately load a new region, which is the one from where the save state was made. And thus the old region was loaded in for no reason. This isn't so bad, because we're not actually loading any resources at that point, so we're not allocating any textures or sounds or whatever. We can do the switch before that happens, but it still parses stuff.
Pretty much lazy loading. The loader will be either the initial loader, which creates every region according to the initial state, or a file loader, which loads regions from a file.
So you might be confusing what a region is. So a region in this game is the entire game world, which might be divided up into, well, separate regions. So it's not just there's only ever one region that's active at a time. You can't have two different regions loaded at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure that the lazy loading kind of makes sense, because you always want to unload the previous region if you've had any. Or, you know, you want to load it if you need it. So the problem is, again, that there's currently no way of telling the system that this region is not strictly needed. You could argue that this initial state setup should be done somewhere else. So you load the world except for the initial state, and then you either load this initial state, or you load some kind of other save state. Actually, let me think about this. Yeah, no, it is a save state. This initial state is a save state after all. It's just a very simple one. One that just says which region we're in and whichever quests are active by default. So never mind, this should be a save state after all. Thanks for the feedback, though. I really do appreciate it. Discussing stuff with other people makes the mind wander, and usually leads to much better solutions and thoughts than otherwise. So, for instance, just to elaborate on the loading mechanism, when you load a region, you give a sort of a target, which is where it should load this.
Detected.
Which is where it should load this region into. Sort of a container
Well,
one.
regions change during play, correct? And your goal is to save the state of the new region and restore it later, right?
Yes, regions change during play if you enter different areas, but the save state we want to save... Actually, that's a good point. We do need to have the save state We need to have the save state save stuff not only about the current region, but also when we just switch regions. Yes. That is a good point. So hold on, let's make a new spec file. Save state mess.
Kinda like chunks or dimensions in Minecraft. You create them once, and after you have created them, you just load them in from a file.
More like dimensions, I guess, because there's never two of them active at the same time. Less like chunks, which you have many of at the same time. But yeah, so lazy loader could work. I'm just not sure it's worth the overhead at the moment. I don't know. It could, I mean, I could achieve the same result if I just deferred the loading of the save state until later, which would require saving which save state is the initial state, which I can do as well. I think that's actually a better idea, yeah.
The system behind chunks and dimensions is pretty similar. It's just different data that has to be stored or loaded.
Right. Leaf does have chunks as well, but right now it just loads all the chunks of a region in immediately, because I expect the data in the chunks to not be that great. So there might be culling things or streaming things that could be done later as an optimization, but right now that's not a concern at all, because I have literally zero game data. Okay, let me look at world format. I'm wondering if I should introduce a versioning scheme for the save states as well. Probably would be good, just for future-proofing. But it's kind of difficult to do the versioning thing if you have a singular file. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm really not sure. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I need to think about during these streams, because a lot of it is just design work at the moment. Architecture and design work, my favorite. And that's not even sarcasm. It's literally my favorite thing to do. Design. Speaking of file formats, a while back I wrote a... This is just a brief excursion. A while back I wrote a specification for a family of binary file formats called SF3 for a simple file format family, and I would really appreciate it if people would take a look at that and sort of give feedback on it, because I would like to finalize this at some point. Yeah. I'll link in the chat. Or you can also find it on GitHub, chimera.github.io/sf3. So, for those folks on YouTube. By the way, anyone who's actually keeping up with all of these streams and recordings, Jesus, good on you, man. I'm amazed. Post a comment on this web zone if you watch all the streams, and I'll send you a pizza roll. Alright. I get the feeling the save state is fine being restricted to being a character file, not a binary file, so I can just put the metadata into the first line of the file to determine the version and things like that. So it's gonna be the same deal as always. So many typos. Hello, Plowless. Good evening to you. Okay. So, what do we need? name of the region. Which currently is a string because of a clutch, actually. I think I can remove that clutch. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds much better than using strings. Strings suck. Symbols are a lot better. Yeah. Ba-ba-ba. What was that? Okay, good. Where else was that a string? Ba-bum-ba, ba-bum-ba-ba. Similarly to regional classes as well.
By the way, is there a way to create new classes at runtime?
Of course, everything is runtime. You have a REPL. That is already the runtime. If all fails, there's always eval and compile. But you can also do it sort of programmatically, of course. In Lisp, everything is runtime. That's a bit too general, but being precise about evaluation is difficult because there's a lot of semantics involved. But yes, you can, when you ship a common Lisp application, you ship an entire compiler and an entire runtime, and you can generate code, you can load code, you can do whatever you want. So you don't need to do things like embed Lua or some shit. You can just use Lisp and you get the API for almost free. I don't know what this is. Similar to the region request, this is wrong. Why? What do you mean? Thanks, comment. You confused me. Maybe it's not wrong anymore, I don't know. But this is the danger of comments. Right. Anyway, back to doing this. B0. Here's some more problems. So, the problem was that I was doing this, and So instead of actually parsing the meta file and just reading the name out, I was trying to infer the name from the file name, which is a bad idea. It's a kludge, and I need to remove that kludge. Where is it? There we go. Better. So now, how do I get at the data? Well, still in the version v0. It's a bit of a leak, but I can just... Where's the meta file? Second, pause, six, packet entry. Okay. What a mouthful. But that should work. I hope. Right. So let's test it real quick. Open the file, no such file. Base. Oh. Right. Wait, that's not right. What the fuck? List entries is not right. That should be... that. Was it wrong for the zip packet as well? That's better. Okay, good. Let's just test it real quick. Print. It's a table, but yep, okay, great, very good. That works. Hello, FRGO and Minty. Good evening to you both. Go. There's probably still a bug there in the sense that... Is there a bug there? Yes, there is. At least the way I'm currently doing it. So let's fix that while I'm at it. So we can't do this. We can't do that. We need to do with packet. I need to add an offset. Wait, is that gonna work? No. It's not gonna work. It's no different. The problem I'm thinking about is if you have mixed packet formats, so meaning, for instance, the world is on disk but the region is a zip file, then this is not actually going to work out. I think the proper response to that is having the offset be smarter about this. So the entry offset should check whether it's
How are the burbs?
they're doing good. So let me go in here. Okay. You don't hear them? Well, I mean, maybe they don't want to be heard. Never thought of that? You insensitive clod. Okay, back to save states. So the region needs to be a symbol now. Very good. And then we need to save the quest data, which is quest list. Right, which is the known quests and their state and the states of the tasks they have. Alrighty. So, Okay, I didn't want to interrupt the song. Right, I'm reconsidering this. The reason I'm reconsidering this very strongly is because when you leave a region and enter a new one, you need to save the state of the current region. This needs to happen right as you leave, because otherwise the changes are going to be lost as the region is unloaded and the memory is freed. When you do that, it would be annoying or wasteful if you had to rewrite all of the data of all of the regions, which might be a lot. So I'm reconsidering doing this all in one file. Or in the very least, I'm reconsidering doing this in one source file. And I think instead I'm going to again go for a packet where I have a meta file, and then I have a multitude of payload files, one for each region, which describes the changes of that region, and then one for the storyline changes, and so forth. And I think that should be much cleaner. You can still, have a single file on disk if you zip it up or aggregate it otherwise, but yeah, having multiple kinds of entries to deal with sounds a lot saner. So I think I'm going to switch to doing that instead. Whomst newsed that doing this was going to be the proper thing all along? So all of these files look very, very similar, which is fine. Okay, header. So we're gonna store an author and a version in here. That doesn't need to be happening. An author is good, so we can note the player's, name in there or whatever. That's fine. I don't think we need anything else. Maybe a date. No. Named your puppy Loki? I'm so disappointed, Minty. Okay. So this means we need to restructure this as well. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the sort of the global file open-ended so you can add stats and whatever in there. It's fine. Or do I need to store task information for quests that are done? I guess so. Yeah, it will be good for posterity. Okay. What do we need to store for each task anyway? I think only the status. Everything else is fixed. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so this should be a pretty simple file to parse. Alrighty. Let me just copy pasta. Again, the reason why I have the symbol name of the region on a single line here is so that the file can be found relatively quickly, if it needs to be found at all, or rather associated with the regions in the table. Yeah. Since the file names are not easily mappable to symbols, or the other way around. Right. Okay. So when we load a save state, we need to load the global file, load the storyline file, and build a map of files to regions. And then whenever we need to save a state, we can immediately look up which file to replace based on the map of regions. And of course this, and this, I guess. Yeah, okay. Okay. I think this is starting to make sense. Good. Where were we? Save states. So I think I'm going to make a different version for save states. Primarily so that I can reuse the same mechanism for loading and writing without having to save all of the information. So I think that should work. And I can probably nuke this file almost. What is this? Running state, blah blah blah, minimal load state. Let's use. Seems pretty much all of it is. Yeah, I had a thing here where I could load the minimal metadata information of a save state and use that sort of to display a list of save files efficiently. So yeah, that's what we have in the metadata file here as well, which is good. I guess we should put a name in there as well, though the name is in the save file, so never mind. Okay. Actually, so this should be like save v0 maybe. Alright. Good. Let's get cracking then. Versions. Save v0. Need. We need first storyline. Don't actually need that for things. That was entirely wrong. I don't know why I did that. brain is not doing what it should. What did I have for the encoder otherwise? Yeah, they ignore both. Okay. Works for me. This should actually, hold on. Yep, that works good. How did I actually write things out in the other things? Let's see, encoder. Oh, I just set up packet entry, okay. Fair enough. It's kind of dumb. I don't like that very much. Yeah. Where's print to string used? I think I'm gonna switch to using the stream interface. Wait, what? How did this used to work? No, wait, this is correct. Okay, this is fine. Yep, good. So many things to do and change and revert and all of those things. So this I can copy pasta. Fine. What else do we have? A0. Actually, just do it like this instead. Now. So we don't need to accumulate that at all, which is nice. Okay, good. So all I need is now print star. Alright, fantastic. The current soundtrack is the Kolat original soundtrack by Arkadiusz Rejkowski. I don't know how to pronounce Russian names, I'm very sorry. But it's pretty good. Game is a walking simulator, but it's kind of atmospheric and nice. It looks really pretty. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check a look. Okay, so that gets rid of that stuff. Great. Why was I doing all this? Oh right, because I was working on this. So... oh wait, this isn't good enough. I need a name as well. Derp. Or maybe I should... make this into a map instead. Yeah. That should be better. Okay, good. Alright. Actually, if we do it like this, we could also pass along the stream as the buffer now. Wait, what is that secondary B argument again? Buffer. Yeah, buffer. So what is that? So we didn't have to do that at all. We could just do it here. Yeah, I need to probably redo a bunch of things now. So I can just do this. Let's just not do that instead.
I have faith that you are safe on your last stop. You said the bright warm light will bring you home. Did you lie, my dear? Did you lie? Just let me know. Just let me know. When the ashes arise, the light shall fall. Will you find me? Will you find me? When the sky is dead and forever gone, will you find me? Will you find me? When the ashes arise, the light shall fall. Will you find me? Will you find me? When the sky is dead and forever gone, will you find me? Will you find me? When the ashes arise, the light shall fall. Will you find me? Will you find me? When the ashes arise, the light shall fall. Will you find me? Or will you find me? I have faith that you are safe.
The previous track was Farewell from the Colat original soundtrack. Wait. Hmm. Actually, I think it would be better if we put the map of the regions into the global file instead of this. Seems much simpler. So let's just do this instead. Okay. Okay. One problem is, how do I get at this part? That is a problem. It's a problem because, well, I could just use the global world because there's never two worlds, or there shouldn't be, but it's not clean at all. I would rather avoid it if at all possible. But there's no backlink from the region to the world, at least I don't think there is. Is there? Region. Oh, it has a scene graph. Never mind. I do have a way back to it. Nice. Nice, nice. I'll leave that function to be defined later. By the way, Minty, you can upload pictures into the chat. Just click on the little paperclip icon. Okay. Actually, I can just use the region entry. No, wait. Can I? Yeah, I can. Name region. Okay, world. Where's that?
I uploaded it from my phone. I have the Chan bookmarks already, but opening the stream on my phone only opens the video portion.
Oh, right, yeah. Forgot about that. Okay, what else did we need? We have this done, and we have this done, so the only thing left is this. For saving, in the very least. Right, so we need to save that, and the current region. It's fine. And then we need to write this. Do we need this now? Don't really. I noticed the one thing that's a problem, which is in the dir packet. We need to call Okay. I also need to write the meta file as well. This region's map isn't really even necessary if we can go with the region entry computation dealio, which is fine, so I don't need that at all. Good. Things I don't need. Fantastic. My favorite. Okay, and then... Wait, no, the meta file is written not by this, but rather it's returned from here. Wait, no, yeah, it's not written by this at all. It's not part of the world anyway. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. Let's also make 2 dates for times. Start time, save time. There we go. I guess playtime then isn't really necessary either. We don't even need that. Fantastic. I like it. Okay, that should settle the saving of the actual entity data. So all that's left is the saving of the metadata, which is not here. It's here. Oh my god. Author typing. Not my favorite. Wasn't there a thing to get the username? I thought there was. Let me check. No, there's like a thing to get the machine name, but that's not what I mean. I thought there was a... type... There's only user home there, which is not what I need, really. Wow, is there really no... Huh. Also, that's interesting. I never noticed that user home their path name can actually return a list of strings and not just... Oh wait, that's for the host. Never mind, I'm reading things wrong. It's either path name or no. Good. Okay, I was confusing things. Typically, that's the username though. Not always. I don't think it's the case on Windows. Which is bad. Is it? Is it not the case? I'm not sure. Author. Okay. Actually, the save should probably not be... Do you even want a name for the save? I feel like that's not necessary. The author is really the username, basically, so... Yeah, it should just use the save time or the start time of the save as a file name. That seems much better. Yeah. Fucking mosquitoes. Get out of here. Be gone, monster. You don't belong in this world. There we go. God damn it. Okay. Where was load state called previously? Okay, so it's calling the world first. All right. Which means well, let's define save state for load first. And for that, we just need to well. Should also be seed. No, that's not good enough. So what you honking at me for?
It's getting late.
Sure is, man. But we're not at the end of the stream yet. Actually, not end time. We also need this stuff. Need a different version for that, though. Hmm. What? Okay. Analysis are typically don't need that method. What is this? This method makes no sense. What? What is this? Strange stuff. guess there should be an equalt version. Why does that not exist? Yeah. Okay, almost done with this.
I'm currently looking at your code at GitHub and I'm wondering where the initial state is stored.
The initial state is stored in the regions themselves. And beyond that, it's again a save state file, which is, if you look at doc, world format, you have an initial state path name in the system.lisp file that's referenced, which currently in the example world I have does not actually exist because I wasn't at that phase yet. So here the initial state is nil, which should be a path name to a safe state file that can be loaded, which is done in v0 here. Yeah. With packet entry. That's an interesting problem. That should probably not be like that. But rather... should be like that. Okay. Does that clear up your question, or are you still confused about something? I should probably not need to specialize on that. So when we load the state, all we need to do is decode payload.
That cleared it up, thanks.
Okay. Nice. I'm always glad to explain, so please, if you ever have questions, do tell me. Okay.
Do you like RL?
I do. But is it artificial? That's the real question. Actually... should probably call it like this.
It's artificial?
Yeah. Give me those Blade Runner quotes. inject them into my veins. Where's the rest? Whoa. Owls are awesome, but it's probably good that you can't own one as a pet, because I would imagine that 99% of the people would mishandle them. And that's probably an optimistic estimate. Info. Oh, I have a curse version. Wait, does that exist? It does. Huh. Why is that in here? That should be in packets. Okay. Right. So where am I? Save state. Probably still use curse version here. Okay, good. Whoa, no, 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 no. Get out of here. Buck 13's neighbor has an owl. Sick. Does he let it fly free at times? Or does he have it like on a what do you call it? A bird range, I guess? Because people who own like fucking falcons and shit have like designated areas where they can let him fly free and stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if it was the same for large prey birds like owls. Okay, yep, load state, that's fine. Alright, so aside from the decoders, now everything should be hooked up, I believe. Which is great. So... Has a huge garden, so there's enough space for them to take off. Nice. Yeah, that's cool. That's fucking cool. My bird dreams right now are a cockatiel at some point. But I'm holding off because I don't want to... I have budgies right now and I don't want to mix because I'm too scared that they might not like each other and, you know. So, if the current ones unfortunately pass away, I'm probably going to switch to cockatiels rather than budgies. Okay, right. So, when we decode, info, yes. Actually, we do have a thing. We have the world. Wait, I'm confused now. What does the decoder look like? Type version. Type. Okay, never mind. So now we load region. Actually, before I do that, with packet or okay, so we load the region. That's great. And then we need to load the state of the region itself. So decode region. And then we need to decode the storyline as well. Okay. Docode. It should make it for the world. Define decoder. What is... I keep forgetting what the first argument is. The buffer... No, wait, here it is. What? Again, the buffer. Okay. Yeah, I'm missing a lot of this stuff. I forgot to do that. People are discussing extinct animals going extinct in chat right now. Very related. So Wait. I don't need a stream for this at all. Why am I doing that? I just need this instead. Whoops. Does leave have a name already? Unit. No, it does not. Okay. Also, we're going over time, so I'm gonna stop it right now. Once I finish typing this line. Leave unit name.
Game over, yeah!
Hell yeah. Alright, good progress tonight, but we're not done yet. So, whoa. Why did you not do the thing? Work on save states. Okay. So tomorrow is another day where I won't be around during the usual stream time. And I'm actually quite busy all day. I'll try to do a stream really, really, really early. And by really, really early, I mean probably around 10 a.m. So, how many hours from now is that? 12 hours from now. Yeah, I think. Isn't that right? I think so. Right, so 10 a.m. Central European summertime is probably going to be the stream tomorrow. Because I'll be gone during the afternoon and I'll be gone in the evening, and it's generally going to be a stressful day. So, yeah. Please. Okay. Please edit the thing, Google Calendar, you piece of garbage. Okay. Good. All right. Yeah. So that's going to be really early. I expect most people won't be around because they'll be at work doing actually useful things. But yeah, you can always catch up on YouTube if you are so inclined. Otherwise, if you also skip out on a thing, that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Thanks a lot again for everyone in chat and everyone stopping
Thanks
by
for the
and
stream.
talking through with me. That was really good. Caught a lot of things
Good
that I didn't
night.
think through properly the first time. Yeah. Good night, everybody.